So this is another older article, but I think it deserves some attention still, considering I didn't see much of it going around on TikTok. And these are the kind of things that really bother me that I want to talk about. I'll get a picture of what they're talking about here in a minute up. But as the headline reads, a vast pile of discarded clothes in desert is so big it's visible from space. And this is not a lie, because I'll pull up the image here in a second. And you can see the satellite image above showing that this is a pit of clothes, and those clothes are primarily sourced from the United States, is what it was found. And there's clothes from other countries. It's retailers, I should say, because the point of origin of a lot of these clothes is generally overseas, but they have to come here first, and then we actively pay to ship this garbage someplace else. Where is this? This is in the Chilean desert. I'm not sure what's happening with the clothes. I would assume they're being burned. I know some of these other countries try to recycle what they can to make money off of it, but a lot of the clothes are in pretty bad disrepair. There have been other documentaries that have shown that a lot of our thrifting clothes, when they're no longer used, if they're not burned, the really crappy stuff is sent overseas to places like Nigeria, I believe is what I saw in one. The problem I have with this is that we're not actually solving the problem. It's just getting worse. And part of that is because clothing manufacturers overproduce by so much that there is this glut of waste that has no place to go. It doesn't go to homeless. It doesn't go to the needy. It just sits and sits, and they won't take a loss on it. Higher-end brands, I forget the exact manufacturer. It was one of those high-end purse brands and clothing brands. And they were caught burning their stuff to artificially inflate the prices so they didn't have to take a loss in that fashion. They still took a loss, but they didn't want the poors buying their clothing. You know how that goes. This is ridiculous. It needs to stop. If the clothes are in good condition, they need to be going to people who can use them. We need to make changes within our country, specifically the United States. We can't control other countries, no. But within this country, we need to mandate that if you're a retailer and you have extra clothes, you need to try to get them to charity first or to people who need them first. And if you can't, then you need to pay an exorbitant fee to have them disposed of. And there are lots of things I'd like to see in this sector change, but this is one of the ones that really bothers me. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate this because this has been brought up numerous times and it is valid. And I'm going to stitch somebody else's video later on because they hit the point clearer and I have some comments I want to add. Not that they're wrong. They're right. I like what they did. But they make the point that you buying more green, eco-friendly stuff doesn't solve the problem. And they're absolutely right. This is not a problem that we created, right? The American consumer did not ask a company, I'm not going to name any names, but they didn't tell a mall brand or a company, hey, you need to produce 1 million more units than you're actually going to sell and then trash those million units and mark up your other inventory so we have to pay for it. That's not the case of it. So I'm not sure how we get this fixed because this is an issue I know Congress is not looking at. This is something they don't care about. So much so that I wouldn't even venture to think that lobbyists are even involved at this point to be helping the clothing companies. This is just one of those things that nobody's paying attention to. But again, look at that image and you can see there's a problem there. And again, we're just dumping our waste on another country. So this has got to stop. If you haven't seen this article, please go look it up. You can just look up vast pile of discarded clothes in Chilean desert or Chile, and you can read all the details on that to see what's happening with that. Again, I think they're burning part of it. Some of it they're trying to salvage what they can and sell off, but that market, that gray market, if you will, is not very good on the people. Again, I've seen other documentaries like in Nigeria with plastics and other waste shipped from our country to them and Malaysia, where people are literally suffering because of the toxins coming out of it. If you didn't know, waste heaps produce heat. I can guarantee you this dump is not vented correctly like most dumps or landfills. So there's a fire risk and a toxic gas and liquid risk that those people are going to be facing.